May the 9th, 2023 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. So first off is the approval of the agenda, and I'm assuming there are no late items. No, thank you very much. So could we have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Councillor Torrey, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes, that would be the regular open minutes of April the 11th, 2023. We have a motion to adopt those. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And we first up is the 2022 financial statements from the town of Osoyoos and the Sun Bowl Arena. So I will ask Mr. Thackle to give us the report.
Thank you, Member Cordell. So the recommendation before council will be that council approves the 2022 audited financial statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena as presented. The town's auditors, MNP, have completed the audit for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena and have prepared the 2022 financial statements for your review and approval. I've reviewed all of our accounts and can confirm the accuracy of the numbers. These financial statements reflect a continued improvement in the financial position of the town of Osoyoos. Cash surplus for 2022, general fund, $2,101,005.99. Sewer fund surplus of $201,015.62. And the water fund surplus $5,937.25. In our net financial assets from page 1, net debt measures the municipality's ability to cover its financial liabilities with its financial assets at any given point in time. The town's position improved by $1,831,888, bringing the net financial asset balance to $11,293,682 for 2022. Under our reserves, fund held and reserves total $24,595,052 as of December 31st, 2022, compared to $22,469,728 in 2021, and allocated as follows. Under the unrestricted surplus, $9,349,086. Reserve accounts, $12,738,550, and development cost charges of $2,507,416. In our debt on page 11, outstanding debt, including equipment financing as of December 31st, 2022, has decreased by $405,768 for a balance of $10,462,859, and the totals are broken down as follows. Under the general fund, fire hall, $5,099,580, roads, $282,179, under sewer, $3,139,274, and under water for the water capital projects, $1,500,318, and operational fire services equipment. This is our financing, $441,508. For our landfill, the landfill's remaining capacity as of December 31st, 2022 is 72%, a reduction of 3% from 2021. The landfill post-closure liability at year end has increased to $239,230. Cemetery care fund, this fund has increased from $4,435 in 2022 to $108,155. Under our tangible capital assets, the tangible capital asset net book value totals $79,607,608 as of December 31st, 2022, as compared to $79,116,833 in 2021. Capital acquisitions were $3,025,343. Under legislation and policy, section 171 of the community charter sets out the requirements that municipal auditors must report to council on annual financial statements of the municipality, and they will provide council with the audit reports for both the town and Sun Bowl Arena. The Sun Bowl Arena financial statements. Sun Bowl had a deficit of $38,311 for 2022, and this was due to the emergency repairs required for the chiller in June when staff were starting up the plant. And at this time, I'd like to pass it over to our auditors to provide the audit reports for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena audited financial statements.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. For both the town of Osoyoos and the Sun Bowl Arena, we have audited the financial statements for the years ended December 31st, 2022. The statements of operations, accumulated surplus, changes in net financial assets, cash flows, and the related schedules for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements are presented fairly in all material aspects for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena, and the results of their operations, changes of net financial assets, and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards.
Thank you very much. And thank you to MMP for doing that for us. And so what we need now is a motion from council that council approves the 2022 audited financial statements for the town of Osoyoos and the Sun Bowl Arena as presented. Thank you, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Federica, all in favor. Thank you very much. To Jennifer and Trevor, we appreciate you attending both of our meetings. Okay, thank you. The next is correspondence, and that would be the Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting highlights. And actually, this was from a month ago, so it was April 6th. And I know we have another one for May, but it just, I guess, didn't make it in time to be in and to be in the report. So a couple of things is that the water commitments from senior governments is interesting. The Canada Water Agency is the announcement of the Canada Water Agency, and it includes $85.1 million over 5 years. And the Okanagan Basin Water Board wrote a letter of support in 2021, and they found it very helpful. Also, we also discussed the BC government's $100 million commitment to establish a watershed security fund. And that seems to be the buzzword these days, is watershed security. We want to know where water is coming from and how we're going to protect it. The Ankeny Osoyoos Lake Water Forum final report was released. It was called Ankeny Osoyoos Lake, part of the watershed, and they on the Okanagan Basin Water Board website. You can see the final report on that. Choose Your Watershed is put out by Okanagan Waterwise. And actually I brought one of the posters back, and it's sitting out in the lobby, so you can have a look at it. And water grants, the board approved $350,000 in funding for 17 projects through its water conservation and quality improvement grant for 2023. So that's a summary of what happened last month at the Okanagan Basin Water Board. Could I have a motion, please, that the OBWB meeting highlights we received for information? Councillor King, Councillor Federica, all in favor. Thank you. And next is Mr. Hesketh is here, a new employee with the town, and he's going to talk about street lighting removal and replacement. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Cordo. As you may know, we had a street light topple over last year, burn a couple of lights. And this kind of made us go around and check the rest of the street lights on Main Street from the Esso past the bridge to the end of the walkway. And we found that there were about 8 street lights that needed to be replaced like immediately because of structural integrity. So what we're recommending is replace those 8 streetlights and replace the luminaires on the rest on Main Street so that they're consistent.
Can you explain what luminaires are? I read that in there. Can you tell us what that means?
The luminaire is basically the bulb. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's a LED. It casts a different pattern and a different color.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're recommending, oh, sorry, go ahead. We're gonna,
No, that's basically it.
but So what we're looking at is the total cost of this. And that would be, well, option one, so option two,
Option two, sorry, yeah.
$195,000
That's right.
for that. And the recommended motion here is that it come from the Growing Communities Fund. That we did get some money from the provincial government. Every municipality did, and so there is some money there for that. Does anybody go ahead, Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll move option 2, and then I have a question.
All right, is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Go ahead, Councillor King.
This project wasn't really identified in your grant proposal, so can we use the money from the community fund? Growing community fund?
See, for your worship, this is not a grant, this was that funding that the
Okay, I'm sorry.
province gave us about two months ago, the 2.5 million. So we don't have to identify where we're going to spend that money, I think by December 31st, so that's gonna be included in the budget deliberations here in a few months. But this is an immediate need, rather than change a lot of the other projects, that funding was available and therefore identified as where we can take funding from.
And is this the first money that would be used out of that 2 million?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So was the Growing Communities Fund there was numerous projects that could be done with that, so this certainly fits into that. So it's been moved and seconded that we use that Growing Communities Fund, or does it have to be 2 motions, Mrs. Hilson? Can it be in one?
No, this could be one motion.
Okay, so it would be that we, option number 2, plus that we use the money from the Growing Communities Fund, right? Okay, that was Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, right? All in favor? Thank you very much. Yeah, that was easy. Thank you very much. Okay, next is the Grant Evaluation Committee request, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last meeting of council, there were a number of requests brought forward to the Grant Evaluation Committee to bring a recommendation back to council. The recommendation states that council utilize funds in the Community Service Grant Program to support the Osoyoos Golf Club Legacy Fund in the amount of $1,656.50. That council does not support the funding request for the British Columbia Ambassador Program. And the third, that council utilize funds from the Community Service Grant Program to pay the rental fee of $313.50 for the wrestling event being held at the Sonora Community Center on May 20th, 2023 in support of the Osoyoos Food Bank.
Good. So, does anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah. Comment since I was on the review committee. I guess through that golf course, they were asking for $2,000 and here we got $1,600. So I'm just wondering if there's any other funding around Mr. Zacco that we could support the 4 signs, since we are putting signs up all around town.
This could fit within our economic development funding that we have set aside, that we haven't allocated towards any projects. So potentially we could utilize some of those funds to contribute towards us.
So I'd have to change a motion here, then one of these options. If there's funding in other places, this is for discussion. Motion that we use money out of the economic fund up to $2,000.
What I would recommend is the resolution to utilize the community service grant funding with the balance to come from the economic development account would be probably more appropriate.
Okay, well then, I just want to know, because it's kind of nice sometimes to leave a bit of money in the community service grant program, because we're still got half a year to go. And we use all that money and we support the other 300 for the other group, there needs no money left. So I'm just wondering, maybe we could lower this, say to 1,000 here and 1,000 from economic development, that would leave 600 in the community services.
Is that something you can do without checking with the grant committee? Or because was this not a recommendation from the community service grant committee? And
I guess I look at, or a different amount of funding, number 4. It doesn't specifically say how much, but it's one of the options.
So could, Mr. Risk, could we ask how we could, or Mrs. Helson, how would we proceed if this, because it's already been moved and seconded, that we use the 1,600? Can we,
We could
Change
vote
that?
down.
how would we do that?
So your worship, like there's a couple ways. First is you could vote it down. Number 2 is you can do a friendly amendment.
Okay,
Well, I think a friendly amendment.
Or suppose.
I haven't, has anybody made a motion yet? I haven't. there's no-
yes, it was
Yeah.
Councillor King
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Councillor Bennett seconded it. Am I correct?
That's right. And if I could speak to it, I also sat on the committee and that was, when we did this, that was the whole idea of that, about the $2,000, but there's other funding. We want to make sure they got that amount of money, but if there's more funding available to award them a different amount of funding.
So, a friendly amendment would allow the remainder to come from the economic development fund, is that correct? If that's
No.
what they wanted to do or not?
If that is,
That's not my amendment.
no,
Okay, so you two were on the committee.
Well, I think it might be easier to vote against this motion and then come up with a new motion. But if you want to make a friendly amendment, then I would have to say that 1,000 comes out of community services and 1,000 comes out of economic development funding.
you could make that that friendly amendment if Councilor Bennett is okay with that.
Are you seconding that, Councillor Bennett?
Because that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Johnny was in favor of it.
So 1,000 and 1,000.
Yes.
and we have to do each one of these separately, don't we?
Maybe one resolution.
There's another.
Well, according
There's
to
another
this,
one,
there's
yeah.
3 different
Yeah, there
resolutions. we have to move
It would
through.
be 3 resolutions because maybe council wouldn't be in support of one, and they're in support of another, so it should be done with these separate.
Right. So could you please read us the motion for the first one?
The first motion would be that council utilize funds from the community service grant program to support the Streets Golf Club with legacy fund in the amount of $1,000. With the remaining $1,000 coming from the economic development fund.
Okay. And so that's been moved and seconded, all in favor. Thank you. What about the second motion?
Yeah, I think the second one that does not support the request. The bachelor program.
Yes, are you moving that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So you're seconding that? Thank you. So that the council does not support the funding request for the BC ambassador program. Any questions? Concerns? All in favor? Thank you. And the third one. The Sonora Community Center on May the 10th. Yes.
Yeah, I'll move number 3 also. Just so the public knows, there was the committee, we had a major discussion on these 3 issues and took quite a bit of time discussing these 3. So I just don't want you to think we're just like moving forward and past them. There was a lot of discussion behind the scenes. And because this is a fundraiser and the money that they raise will go towards the food bank, I think this would be beneficial to support this initiative, this grant.
Good, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you had spent a fair amount of time discussing these issues, and we appreciate that. So have we voted on the third one yet?
No, we just have it moved by Councilor King, we need a second draft.
Well, because they were the 2 that went there. Okay, all right, so all in favor of the third motion? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
but you're on the next one now too. So this would be the Fortis Community Giving Awards nomination.
At the last meeting of council, actually, I'm not sure if this actually came from the meeting of council, but it was forwarded to the committee to discuss the actual grant opportunity. So the Fortis BC Community Giving Award, they have 3 awards that give out up to $15,000. And the recommendation from the committee is that council nominate the Osoyoos Desert Center for the Fortis BC Community Giving Award for 2023. I did find out yesterday that one of the projects that the Desert Center is doing is making their washrooms accessible, and it would definitely fit that criteria.
Thank you. So, council, what is your
I will option 2,
option 2? That we nominate?
nominate the Osoyoos Data Center for the Fortis BC Community Giving. Right?
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Toderica. All in favor? Thank you very much, and that's a good project that they have just out there to the the other day. Okay, and next, Mr. Davis, artist on main lease.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was brought to council last council meeting for an intent to lease. Since then, we have actually finalized the lease with Artists on Main. It did go to the newspaper for 2 consecutive issues and posted on a public notice board. And we are making the recommendation that council authorize and approve the town signatories to lease a portion of the property legally described as lot 537, block A, plan KP 4088, DL 2450S, LD 54, except plan H 204, and more commonly referred to as 6418 Chickadee Court, to the Artists on Main Club for 1-year term commencing May 15th, 2023, at an initial rate of $1 per year plus an additional rate of $100 per month for the shared cost of utilities.
Good, thank you very much. And it's certainly, we did talk about this at the last meeting. Well, council, is there anyone who would like to make a motion here? Yes, the recommended motion, thank you, which was just, we won't say it again, Mr. Davis said it. Is there a second for that? Councillor Poderica. All in favor? Thank you very much. I think they had an open house the other day. Okay, thank you. And next is the Gyro Park concession lease. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was also brought to council last meeting for the intent to lease. And we did bring this to the newspaper and public notice posting board. We didn't receive any issues or complaints from the public. And we're recommending that council authorize and approve the town signatories to lease the property legally described as lot 530, plan 250, district lot 2450S, Similkameen Division, the district, and more commonly referred to as the Gyro Beach Concession, for the purpose of operating a concession for a 3-year term at a rate of $7,800 per year, with an option to renew for 2 further 1-year terms.
Thank you. Councillor King.
I think it's just a question without reading the whole concession lease agreement. Does he have to be open 7 days a week, 3 days a week, or certain hours?
Yes, that is correct, Councillor King.
Do you know off the top of your head, what was that all? Like say from mid-May till September?
He has the option to be open, like for sure in the busy summer months, into the spring and into the fall, like all the time. And prior to that, it would be his choice if he's going to be open, but he has to be open for specific events or public events in the park.
Thank you.
But there are some events that are on, such as July 1st, where that there is an arrangement made that he is open plus other,
Yes, Madam
Food
Mayor,
trucks
that is
as well.
correct.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed for sure.
good, thank you very much. Okay, so have we voted on that?
Yeah, nobody.
No. Okay, Councillor Bennett, we've got too many motions today. Councillor Poderica is seconding that, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next is the development variance permit. 3616 Torrey Drive, and then that is Curtis.
Seat shuffle.
You? Thank you, Mr. Curtis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Porter. With Fortis to request council accept the development variance permit application 2302. To authorize administration to proceed with the notification process, which advises of council's intention to consider the issuance of the development variance permit during the May 23rd, 2023 council meeting. Administration supports council accepting the application in order to obtain input from neighboring properties about the proposed development variance permit. Zoning bylaw number 1085. 1908 stipulates that a side yard setback of 1.2 meters is required for accessory buildings. The applicant is asking for a reduction to the side yard setback from 1.2 meters to 0.3 meters, or approximately 37. Please note that the development variance permit application and the building permit were submitted retroactively after construction of the accessory building had already started. The requested variance, if approved, would bring the accessory building into compliance with the zoning bylaw. No formal stop work order was placed on the property. However, the building inspector notified the property owner that construction of the accessory building was to stop until such time that the development variance permit and the building permit were issued. After this warning was issued, the property owner continued construction on the building, finishing the roof before stopping. As a result, the applicant started construction on the accessory building without a permit, and the applicant would be charged double the fees as per the town's building code administration bylaw if the development variance permit was issued. The property owner is located within the Dividend Bridge subdivision. The applicant is required to meet the guidelines set out in the design scheme as registered on title. As the approving authority of the design scheme, the developers has suggested that the current accessory building does not appear to meet the guidelines of the design scheme. The town has also heard from several neighbors of the applicant with their concerns regarding the location and the size of the accessory building.
So what you're asking today is that the development variance permit be accepted and that there be a notification process in order to consider that the May 23rd meeting.
We are suggesting that we accept the application in order to remove it from the neighboring properties. So the neighbors an opportunity.
Okay, and are those have to be two separate motions?
Yeah, you will check, and I would also like to point out that the application should be received before council would move option number 2. So the kind of reverse on the 8th page. So if council were to make a resolution, they should accept the development variance permit first and then make the second resolution.
All right. So could we have a motion, please, that the development variance permit application number 23-02 be accepted? Or, want to read that? For that. Dr. Bennett? Sorry, go ahead.
Did I hear you correctly that a lot of the neighbors were against this development?
There have been some neighbors who have placed complaints or concerns with the town.
Like in writing?
No.
So we just like, we don't know for sure.
If I may,
Yes,
through
please,
the mayor, this is what the reason we're suggesting that you proceed with the process as in the land use procedure bylaw, that you authorize notification to the neighbors, councils, that they're going to consider issuance on a certain date, so that we can see people actually come in or submit something in writing.
So yeah, we're not okay in the development. We got to
That's
go through the
correct.
process. Number 2, okay.
So the other motion then makes sense to what you are recommending. that council authorize administration to proceed with the notification process, which advises of council's intention to consider. That would include notifying neighbors and allowing them to attend the meeting or send a letter.
That's correct, Mayor Porto. And note also that issuance of the building permit would be contingent on compliance with the requirements of the building scheme.
Okay, that isn't written in here, but is that inferred in this then?
It is in the report.
Okay. All right, so would someone like to move the second recommendation? Thank you.
Second.
No, it's already been, no, that was the first.
That was the first one. The first one's been moved and adopted. The second one, Councilor King just moved it.
Okay, so we need a seconder for that one. For the second part. Okay, Councilor Torrey. You see that there's two separate motions there. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Next is the below market sales program in the southeast Meadowlark plan area.
Thank you, Mayor Porto.
Go ahead, thank you.
So the recommendation today is that council supports the transfer of the no sale covenant registered on title as part of the phase 2 of the Meadowlark plan. From lot 24 to lot 4 on plan EPP 12182 district lot 2450S. So a little bit of background here. So the town first purchased the lands at the Meadowlark properties that used to be formerly called the Richter property in 2009 in order to obtain a site for the new fire hall. And the property was then, of course, within the agricultural land reserve. And in October 2010, town entered into an agreement with the Agricultural Land Commission to allow properties to be excluded from the agricultural land reserve on an as needed basis, subject to them meeting the requirements of the plan. And those requirements were that each development had to have a minimum of 30 units per hectare, and that 15% of the units would be sold at 15% below market value. So the town in phase 1 met and complied with those requirements. And now in phase 2, as a result of the change in the market conditions, it appears that one of the units that was proposed to be used for the sale of the below market program is actually going to be a higher value than would be attainable for most people that would be looking to enter into the program. So we're looking for council to support the transfer of that no sale covenant from lot 24 to lot 4. Now note also that when the property is sold as part of that program, that we would have to come back to council. We would then register the housing covenant in correspondence with the sale of the property to the final purchaser. The housing covenant would then be registered on title.
So we're removing lot 4 and moving it to lot 24, am I
From
correct?
24 to 4. From 4 to 24.
Sorry.
Yeah,
that's-
sorry,
yeah,
no.
4 to 24.
You had it right.
Okay. And that certainly makes sense, and certainly when we did the first Meadowlark plan, there were, I think, 4 homes that, or lots that went through this program. And it seemed to me that Mr. Zackel and I had to go down to the lawyer's office and sign papers to that effect. So my assumption is that would also happen for this one.
That is
Yeah.
correct. And just to give you an idea of what it means, for a home that's $800,000, you'd have to be making each part, let's say there's 2 people purchasing, 2 partners purchasing a family home together. Each person would have to be making in excess of $100,000 to qualify for $800,000 mortgage. The bank bases it on the income of, for every $25,000 you make, you qualify for $100,000 in mortgage.
Okay.
So that is if you have really usual debt that people usually have, they have credit card debt, maybe a car loan. If you have absolutely no debt, the most you would qualify for is for every 20,000 you make, you would then get $100,000. So it's not how much more at the end of the day. So basically you'd have to have 2 people each making $80,000 a year with absolutely 0 debt to qualify for $800,000 mortgage.
Wow.
So if you look at the price of the homes in our community right now, it starts to get, it's very interesting for people trying to get into the market. We will be discussing this further at our meeting to discuss housing in general. Other options.
And certainly in the past years that we've gone through this, we started off by calling it affordable housing. And we had to change that to near market because once the houses were built and we saw what was happening with the economy, it really wasn't affordable. So it had to be changed in your market. So totally understand the concerns. So,
Let's make a comment.
council, what would, yeah, would you? have a-
I guess I relate, I support it, but in retrospect, the lot you're changing is a third bigger than the lot he's changing it to. So obviously he's gonna build a bigger house that will cost more.
So, the house that he's building, will be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. The house currently is that the covenant is on is 3,000 square feet. It's a huge house.
Bigger.
Maybe certain of the area of the property, it means he can actually build the bigger house on lot 4,
Oh,
then on 24. And that would be a rationale, the cost would be more.
I should explain. So if you look at lots 2, 3, 4, and actually 26 on the plan. So all those lots that are facing Meadowlark Drive, they're all encumbered with an agricultural land covenant. That dictates that you can only use a portion of the lot. For residential purposes. There's a huge setback. And if you drive down there, you'll see that there's a big landscape area. That's all covenanted. It's a landscape buffer covenant. Put on by the Agricultural Land Commission. That's why those lots look so big. So
Sorry, lot 4 is actually on a Meadowlark Drive.
that's
You
correct.
have to go across the street with the LR. Wouldn't you? So
Yes, you do. You would have to go west of there. But as part of the subdivision process, the Agricultural Land Commission insisted that this covenant be placed on those properties.
I have respect.
Yes, no problem. So what about lot 26? It's not circled, and is it in the same?
Lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, and lot 26 have the agricultural covenant on them.
How about lot 1, the top?
No,
No, it
that's
doesn't.
existing homes on it.
Oh, okay, fair enough,
So the covenant is moving from 4 to 24.
right. Okay, is there anybody who would like to make, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mrs.
We are
Sullivan.
just gonna confirm with Director McKay that the motion should read. That council supports the transfer of the no sale covenant registered on title as part of phase 2 of the Meadowlark plan. From lot 4 to lot 24.
Yes.
That is correct.
Glad
Thank you, thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Ms.
glad you caught that. You're quite right, because it says that further down there, but just not in the motion. Okay, so could we have the motion to read from lot 4 to lot 24 instead?
Thank you.
If there's somebody who would like to make that motion. Thank you, Councillor Poderita, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It is a bit confusing, and I'm just going to mention one other thing now. Now that the homes are nearing completion, at least for the 2 duplexes. You can come and visit them. Make arrangements to come and see them. We do have 4 people that have been on the list since phase 1. And now we will probably put out an e-news in concert with corporate services to advertise the program. Because their units will become available.
And when the first house was sold in Meadowlark 1, I was able to go in and have a tour of the house, and I was very happy to do that. So I'm certainly hoping that we would have the same opportunity. Okay, we're okay with that one. We will move on to the bylaw enforcement appointment. That's Mrs. Hilton.
Thank you, Mayor Cordell. As council is aware, we are in protest from hiring 2 seasonal bylaw enforcement officers that were approved in the budget process earlier this year. So we have moved forward with one applicant, we are currently working with the second applicant. So our recommendation at this point is that Bhupinder Ladhar be appointed as the town of Osoyoos bylaw enforcement officer under section 36 of the Police Act. RSBC chapter 367 and section 264 of the community charter for the purposes of enforcement of municipal bylaws for the town of Osoyoos.
Thank you. And it's nice to know that we have a third bylaw. Quite a difference.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
It's just a seasonal person?
Correct, we are working forward with two seasonal hires.
But we do not have a second seasonal hire yet.
We're currently working working with the individual.
Okay, so is there somebody who'd like to make a motion? Thank you, Councillor Poderica, the recommended motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bennett, all in favor? Thank you, everybody. Okay, next is the general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And this would be to report on expenditures from accounts payable and payroll information to receive for information purposes as of May the 9th, 2023. General cash requirements of $825,866.03. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $17,229.10. And net payroll accounts of $219,689.54. And so the options are for council to receive the general cash requirements, Sun Bowl cash requirements, and net payroll accounts for information purposes. Or number 2, to request additional information. Also,
Number one.
thank you. That's seconded. Moved and seconded. Number 1. They got that. All in favor. Thank you. And next is the summary of the building permits. And so we have 5 townhomes on 681889 were those the 5 homes that you mentioned that were the last time? Okay, thank you, by the previous report. We have a swimming pool going in, a single family dwelling, and an engineered retaining wall. And total for the month is $2,357,500. And total to date is $4,127,250. Total to date last year was $5,483,000. So could we please have a motion to accept the building report for information? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. Then next is bylaws, and that would be on Ms. Curtis, you're going to do this. It would be on the 10 Wren Drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCora. During the February 28th, 2023 council meeting, council held public hearing and afterwards gave third reading for zoning amendment bylaw number M85.137 2023. Following the council meeting, an administrative error was discovered. A correspondence intended for the public hearing was inadvertently excluded from the council review package. All property owners that believe their interests be affected by the proposed bylaw must be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard by council. It was determined by administration that third reading of the bylaw amendment must be rescinded in order to give all members of the public the opportunity to provide feedback on the proposed rezoning of the property. Should council agree to rescind third reading, administration is proposing a new public hearing date of June 13th, 2023.
Good, thank you very much. So what we need to do first of all is rescind. And then do we, and can we do that with the new zoning meeting in the same motion?
There's actually no requirement for council to set the zoning, the second bylaw of zoning by date, so council can just move forward with the recommended resolution.
Okay,
And then administration can do the notice is required for the public hearing.
thank you. So the motion is the recommended motion that council rescind third reading given to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.137 2023 on February the 20th, 2023. Okay. Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the parcel tax. Museum parcel tax bylaw. So what we need is for the museum parcel tax amendment bylaw to be adopted. So that's what we're looking at today. It's gone for first three readings. Is there a motion? Thank you, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Federica, all in favor. Thank you. And the Osoyoos tax rates bylaw, and that was also has gone for first three readings, and so we're just like looking for the adoption of this bylaw today. Correct, Councillor Federica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you, everyone. And next is the first council meeting reports that the expenses, when council go or mayor and council go on meeting, we are required to fill in expense reports, and we this is per diem rate that is paid. So there are four of these. I assume we can put them together, do them all together. There's one for the mayor, one for Councillor Bennett, one for Councillor King, and one for Councillor Federica. And all of us were at the Silva meeting for 4 days in Vernon. So could I have a motion, please, that we approve these expenses? Councillor Federica, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And we have the CEO report, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Some of these things were mentioned this morning within the quarterlies, but I think I'll repeat them just for our viewers' pleasure, in case they didn't listen to this morning's meeting. So good thing coming up for the community is on May 26th, we're planning to hold the annual community barbecue down at Gyro Park. The scent garden, people have been walking along Pioneer walkway. The scent garden is nearing completion. On a negative side, more from an administration perspective and the community, we're only qualified for one Canada summer jobs. Previous years we've got 4 to 5, so that's kind of disappointing from a budget perspective. So usually we get funded to about 4 or 5. From a bylaw enforcement officer perspective, we keep bringing this up. The last 2 or 3 meetings, we're still having quite a few issues with animal control complaints, and these are dogs at large. And so again, a reminder to those people that have pets to ensure they have licenses. Number 1, number 2 is to have collars and make sure their gates are closed, that type of thing. We've definitely hit the summer season here, and the boat trailer parking lot has been open for a couple of weeks. We've had several new businesses that have opened in the last little bit, and I would like to highlight those. And we have Great Line Excavating, Lake Life Mobile Marine and Auto, Vantage Alberta, Liquid Mountain Development, Hen's Old School Cafe, Osoyoos Jewelries, Osoyoos Custom Detail, South Okanagan Stucco and ICBL, Jackson Valiant Lawn Care, and Osoyoos Septic. So quite a few new businesses in town, so I just thought I'd mention those. And from the operations perspective, those in an area of town, we had another water quality issue, and it's going to be a few more this summer, unfortunately. And you know, until we are able to complete our water plant, these are going to continue, unfortunately. 85th Street Plaza, there's been a lot of discussion on that. We got the grant on that, and committee the whole review next stage of design this morning, so that's getting closer to moving forward. We did issue a purchase order for the repairing area down at the old museum. That's next part of the cleanup of the old curling site, so hopefully that's going to get started here fairly quickly. And as indicated before, we have ordered some of our light trucks, but with the backlogs, there's a strong possibility we won't receive those till late 2024. So it just gives an indication as to why sometimes things take so long. And I think that just about covers it. That's kind of what that's about.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Risman. Could we please have a motion to accept the CAO report? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Torrey, all in favor. Thank you. Now we'll go on to council reports. Councillor Becker first.
Thank you, worship. Feedback. Yeah, 2028, I attended with the old council. And see originally, Southern Ontario Local Government Association's annual conference in Vernon, really good week with 300 plus tenants or members. One of the largest turnouts, really good. Myself, the mayor and the CEO toured the Vernon wastewater treatment facility. Quite impressive. They do deposit fair bit of effluent in their agricultural practices there. So really you can see the scale, obviously the size that the facility does, as well as they've bringing on board a hard wastewater treatment facility to deal with their growing brewery distillery industry. So it was a really unique tour that we were able to attend. And it's a really good seminars throughout the week. It was a really good learning experience. So I report.
Thank you. And one of the things that the three of us learned when we were at the water reclamation center in Vernon was that to rebuild it would cost 60 million. So it made everybody sort of stop and think, wow, these things are expensive. However, they've been at this for a while and it was very interesting to tour it, wasn't it? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Federica. Councillor King.
And thank you, Mayor. Just to know, they're full days of speakers and conferences, workshops, very long days from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening. A couple of highlights that I hit on was a keynote speaker was Dr. Mark Evolder, talking about navigating change with confidence and excitement. Also the forest industry. I know we don't have a lot of trees around here, but how the auxiliary companies impact the whole province. With a big change coming up. Another one was successful elected official, the survival guide. That was quite interesting. And then the path to recovery in the housing market. That was a great talk. And planning in response to climate related events. These are just a few of the that highlighted on me, but we were in all of them all day from 8, like I said, till 5 in the evening. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King.
Sure.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On April 14th, I attended Osoyoos Indian Band. They purchased the Okanagan Falls property and it's the old fishing grounds. It was pretty neat being there when you could actually feel the First Nations, the spirit there while they did their opening ceremonies. April 20th, evaluation of grant committee. April 25th, 28th, we were in Silga. A lot of stuff there was we want to congratulate our neighbors Oliver on winning a social responsibility award, which is to do with the doing the flag and First Nations and their town hall. A lot of the stuff I attended was stuff to do with resolutions and a lot of stuff that we have the same problems here. All the other communities in the southern interior have the same problem with short-term vacation and Basin hostels, fuel price, bike tours, transportation, primary care. April 29th, I attended Fireman's Ball, and I want to really congratulate the volunteer fire department because it's a major event that they put it on while the fire chief and the 2 assistant chiefs sat there and enjoyed it. And so we're not wearing our uniforms. This is our guys' event. They put it on. Then May 1st, I had the Trails of Okanagan meeting to talk about the trail coming to the Osoyoos and meeting our American associate tomorrow. And then May 4th, I had a council special meeting. Not an hour, it's a couple weeks.
Thank you. So I'm not going to repeat what other people have said, but there were a couple of other things that I was on as well. And that is the Highway 3 Mayors and Chairs Coalition, which I'm a member of. And one of the things that we do, we meet twice a year. And we look at recommending to the Ministry of Transportation some areas of concern between Hope and the Alberta border. And we had given them a top 5 list, and actually they've listened over the years. And one of them, which is of interest to us, a lot of them are in sort of in Kootenays, but is Whipsaw Creek, our Whipsaw, the corner on the Hope Princeton Highway. That's one of our top 5 this time, because several other of the big bends in the road between Princeton and Hope have been dealt with over the years, and Whipsaw hasn't yet. And so that's high on the list, and they listen to it. I'm also a member of the Highway 3 Tourism Alliance, BC's best known and best loved touring route, Highway 3. And we talk about what are the best ways to for people to go through that, to use that road carefully, and to stop and see important tourism places along the way. So that was a good one. I went to the Osoyoos Lake Water Quality Society AGM on April 15th, and I'm happy to say that they have a good group of workers on their board, and they have the boat out already, and they're doing water quality sampling out on the lake. So we're lucky to have that type of board here. There are very few places around the country that have one. However, I was also on the International Lake Osoyoos Board of Control meeting. I was on Zoom, but it was held in Washington, DC. And right now, the Board of Control really just looks after the Zogal Dam, which is just south of Oroville. And we're looking at changing that and getting the okay from the International Joint Commission on Washington and United States and Canada to look at being a watershed board, which would be really quite helpful. And what that does is not only look at the levels of the lake, which is what we do now, but water quality, water quantity, and aquatic ecosystem health. So we're in the process of dealing with that and hoping that that will eventually happen. Certainly we had an interesting time at Silga. A couple of the resolutions which I paid most attention to, of course, was because they involve water. When they passed, one of them was on invasive species, the Water Sustainability Act for riparian area protection, and more enforcement of invasive mussels. So those were of particular interest to me. I was also at an Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting last week in Kelowna, where it was not only the board, which meets monthly, but the Water Stewardship Council, and it was a joint meeting of both of those. Water Stewardship Council is the technical working body of the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and it's very interesting to hear all of the things that they're dealing with, like agricultural land and how they, I don't even remember, but the one I wrote down was alluvial fans, and I had to do sort of a thank you at the end, and I said, who knew that alluvial fans were that interesting? And about 6 people in the audience put their hand up and said, oh, we did. These are the science guys who understand that alluvial fans are quite an interesting group. So that was good. And also the CAO and I were at a full day meeting with the RCMP in the Okanagan, and it was the mayors and CAOs and police chiefs meeting with all of the RCMP departments. It was in Kelowna, and it went on. I don't know, I think it started at 8:30 and we didn't get out of the recorder after 4. There was that many things to sort of talk about the highway patrol, and they didn't even talk very much about specific things in various communities, but we got sort of the bigger overview of all of the things they do. It was quite interesting. The only problem was that we left the hotel by the airport at 4:15. And it very likely, I think it took us an hour, like certainly in my car anyway, going across, just getting across the bridge. And I thought, who in their right mind would want to live here and deal with that on a daily basis? So I was happy to get home here to the South Okanagan where the traffic is much more manageable. And the Desert Center opening was on April the 29th. I walked the new boardwalk, which I didn't do last year when it was open. And it's really an interesting path, and you can see some bones out there. There was bones of I think it was a bear that somebody had actually found down on the beach, and they brought it up and put it there. Quite interesting, but there was frogs and badger holes and all kinds of things. And the staff out there are really good at giving talks, and it's open for the next several months. I would highly recommend it as a place to go and really learn something about the Okanagan. And the RDOS, I was at last week too, and we were talking about FOIPA, which is Freedom of Information Policies and Procedures.
Information and protection of privacy.
Protection of privacy, I knew that. And that was fascinating. And there was a lady there who gave a talk on that for a couple of hours. And honestly, she was a lawyer. She was a good speaker. She was a parliamentarian, and she knew what she was talking about. It was most interesting, and we all need to be careful. And apparently, these black books that I wander around with, I need to do something with them or shred them or something, because people can take stuff that you have on your phone, on your on texts, on emails, and ask for freedom of information and ask for information on it. So you need to be careful, all of us, what we say and what we send and what we say on Facebook and what we say in the paper, because people can pay attention to that and sometimes change it a little bit too, to what they want. Anyway, that was a busy couple of weeks. So that's all I have to say about that. And I'm now going to move this into an in-camera meeting that, pursuant to section 91A of the community charter, a part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to personal information about an unidentifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality in section 91C, if the subject matter being considered relates to labor relations and or other employee relations. So could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Pottery and Councillor King.